What's up, YouTube? This is Elder Stacy Zanders coming to you with another video. But before we get into the video, just would like to tell you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the like button and the notification bell so you get all the latest updates on new contents that we release. This is going to be a reaction video to a city manager in North Carolina. 3 months on the job, she was terminated. Number one, because she was an African-American, she was an African-American female, and the entire police department walked off the job because they did not want to work under someone in those conditions. And we're going to be looking at two opposing sides. We're going to look at the African-American side and we're going to look at the Caucasian side. And let's just get into the video and see what we have here. Let's get right into it.
Town manager Justine Jones' contract was terminated. They're not surprised.
As much as it's a wonderful, feel-good, people like each other, friendly, kindly, there is and there has been that history of racism.
Okay, so here, this side says that there has been a history of racism, or institutional racism, or systemic racism. Institutional racism, also known as systemic racism, is a form of racism that is embedded in the laws and regulations of a society or organization. It manifests as discrimination in areas such as criminal justice, employment, housing, healthcare, education, and political representation. And though this nation has taken great strides to root out institutional racism, we still have a long way to go. We find it across the board and broad areas of the communities of America. And until we bring the awareness, people need to be made aware. See, sometimes people are wrong, don't know they're wrong, don't know how they're affecting another people or another community until it is brought to their attention. But it's our mission, our goal is to weed out indifferences wherever we may find them, where people, like Dr. King says, should be judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. So we have this one side where she is telling us that it is hallmark, it's in the bedrock, it's in the framework, it's in the infrastructure, it is embedded. Racism is embedded in the society and in every systems of society that we live in here in this country. And until we stand up, speak up, rise up, it is not going to change. But we're going to look at the opposing sides here. You have one side here that's talking about it, but then we're going to hear a reaction from a white citizen about the same issue. But let's get back into the video.
In fact, Annette was one of the first African Americans to integrate the school system here.
From the walk home from Kinley Elementary to our home, people walking behind us, calling us names and so forth.
Census data showing there are nearly 1,500 people that call this town home, with white residents making up the majority, followed by blacks, Hispanics, Asians, and American Indians.
And typically what you have here is you have whoever is in the minority. What in this particular country, since its inception, there are two groups. There's one who feels like they're inferior and they want everyone else to be inferior to them. One is superior, one feels like they're superior, and they want everyone else to be inferior to them. And now without understanding, that we are all people. People are striving. People have, all of us are human beings. You have certain needs, desires, goals, hope, dreams, aspirations. You want the best for your children, family, etc., etc. And but when something is created and when something is taught, generation after generation after generation, it's simply going to take time in order to get a hold and root these issues out. So, but in this particular case here, I would like to know what you think. But to terminate someone because they're African American. And if I didn't say it in the beginning, the entire police force quit because they said the city manager created an hostile environment for them to work. She was 3 months on the job. And many times in a job where you're running an entire city, 3 months is not long enough to really get your foot wet yet. To create a hostile environment, they just simply did not want to take directives and directions from someone whose hue or skin color was not like their own. But let's get back into the video.
Kinley resident Nancy Kate says there's no race problem here.
I don't like the fact they say that because I can call anyone, any color.
Kate's telling me Kinley officers resigned because Jones was hired, creating a toxic work environment. But an investigation found that was not true.
I'm glad she's gone. She shouldn't have been hired to start with.
And now,
Okay, now we have the opposing view. Here you have the citizen say that since she's a part of the white community, she understands the framework and the conversations, obviously, that I would assume that is going on. And she said that she was hired because she created a hostile work environment. And nothing about the city manager, initially looking at her, tells me that she is a troublemaker or hostile. And but the aggression, if you spoke to some of the other individuals on the other side, you will see that there was some hostility there. Now, the city council, they selected her because she was the best candidate. She beat out white, other blacks, other ethnicities, men and women. She was the best candidate for the job. And I don't think that Kinley has a city council of a bunch of ignorant people just hiring somebody for the sake of hiring them. They vetted her. She was the best candidate for the job. That's why she was hired. But there are times when you have people whose mindsets and mentalities are different. They'll plot, plan, and connive to create an environment so that they can get someone removed from office. They're so glad that I would not be in control, because I would have simply terminated the chief, the staff, and everybody else and rehired the entire police department. So we just get you out of there in one fell swoop. Okay, but when you look at the opposing side, an opposing argument, also called an opposing claim, counterclaim, or rebuttal, is an argument that does not support the thesis. Here you have this lady here in her rebuttal simply said, I'm glad she's gone. She should never have been hired in the first place. My question is, why should she have not been hired? What do you know about her to make such a claim like that? How can you make that claim and say that she should not have been hired in the first place? This is where ignorance cannot rule the day. But let's continue a little bit further into the video, and then I'll be back with some more opinions.
now it's a waiting game on what happens next in this small town located east of the Triangle. These sisters with a message for town manager Justine Jones.
She made a difference. She gave us hope for a little while. Do not internalize this. This had absolutely nothing to do with you, your competence, your performance.
And those were some wise words. The only way we can stop this is to bring awareness to it. We must speak up where we see wrong doing. And this is just not a black thing. I don't care if you was black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're Hispanic. Through my years of employment, I have stood up for people that was right. Let me give you a quick example. I worked, I'm not going to name the name of the company, but in Hamilton, Ohio, northern Cincinnati, Ohio area, around the Fairfield area, where I was a manager in a particular warehouse, and the GM, the general manager, came to me, people that had maxed out their pay. He wanted them removed so that he can then hire more people that start over from the opening beginning pay rate. And I simply would not do it. You know, I just even at the expense of, they did retaliate on me. I would not put people in positions where I was going to create a hostile environment for them to try to get them to quit, to get them to leave, to get them demoted, or have them do something they would be fired. To me, that was discriminatory. It was tactics that I think the upper management was using to make sure that they can keep people at a lower pay scale. Once people maxed their payout, then they did what they could do to get those folks terminated, and that was wrong. And I told him that was wrong, and I would not participate in doing so. So what they did in return, I think there was a 500,000 square feet facility that I was a manager over, and what they did is they couldn't take my pay, they couldn't demote me, but what they did turn around and do is put me in charge of cleanup. So instead of me managing the facility, they had me now cleaning the facility and I refused to quit till eventually they released me with saying that I broke a company rule, but could never tell me what rule that I actually broke. But that's the stance that we have to be able to take, to stand up for what's right, no matter what the cost may be. Do right. The Bible says do good unto all men, especially those who are of the household of faith. But we have to do better as a nation and as a people. But it starts with the nation of one. It starts with us as an individual to recognizing that we have to make this change. And all of us, if we stand up collectively, speak with one voice, then change will be made. But it's going to take all of us working together. We have to have a single heart and a single mind, or a single goal and a single focus to make sure that no one living, breathing, moving is discriminated against, and let every man, like Dr. King said, be judged by the content of their character and not by the color of their skin. This is Elder Stacey Sanders. As always, to the next video, God bless.